On the Blood Trail is brought to you by Man Mountain Company. Experience peak flavor.
Oh, freaking smoked them, man. Gorgeous 4x4, full velvet whitetail. That is awesome. What a rush. That was crazy, man. How do you like that? Hey, how do you like that? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Blood Trail. It's been a while since I've done a podcast, so it's going to be a little bit rusty getting into the swing of things here. Today I'm joined by Luke Squires. You might know him from Instagram at Squires Outside or even on his YouTube channel. Luke also shot a cranker of a whitetail buck this year and has gotten piles of recognition for it. And I'm excited to poke him a little bit about that story. I know he doesn't want to give up too much, but Luke, how's it going, man?
Hey, Tyler, I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for that beautiful introduction. And yeah, I'm glad to see that you're getting your podcast fired back up. This is exciting to be on here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So let's just go straight into your buck here. I know you don't want to talk about it too much, but what a whitetail, man. Like, congratulations. That's a great way to fold your tag this year. Yeah,
thanks. Definitely the biggest I've taken in my hunting career. It was quite the morning, big rush. And yeah, don't want to disclose too much of the story. Got some things coming down the pipe where you'll be able to find all the details.
I'm excited for that.
Buck. So, yeah, he was a cranker for sure.
Nice. So today we're going to do a lot of talking about guns, different stuff to do with pretty much everything involved in a shooting setup. You know a lot more about this than I do, so I'm really excited to pick your brain. But we'll fire it up right away with your rifle setup on the deer that you shot this year.
Sure. Yeah, it was this year. I chose to use a Weatherby Vanguard, kind of the bottom of the line of the Weatherby stuff. Still a fantastic product that they put out in 300 Weatherby Magnum. It's a gray stock. It's pretty classic looking with the Monte Carlo style stock. Black spider webbing, bit of texture to it. So it's kind of nice to have that with the winter gloves and stuff, and black Cerakote. So some rust protection and stuff. The muzzle is broke with the Weatherby AccuBrake. I really enjoy that for those heavy magnums, and yeah, it's a nice rifle. I know you yourself, you run a couple Weatherbys, hey?
Yeah, I've got a 257 Weatherby, and actually I have two of them. I have a Vanguard and a Mark V. I still haven't put a scope on the Mark V, so maybe some of our talk will persuade me into what to put on there. Then I have a 30-06 that needs a scope as well. It's a Weatherby Vanguard, and then I also have one of their shotguns. So yeah, I like Weatherby. I think they make a fantastic product.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Just the fit and finish, it doesn't feel like a budget rifle.
No, I don't think so either. I think compared to like other rifles in that price point, I think Weatherby feels like a premium gun in comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more.
So I saw something, or I heard on another podcast that you had a 300 Remington Ultra Mag, correct?
I did. Yes, sir.
So then you shot this buck this year with a 300 Weatherby Magnum. What is it about these big calibers?
I bought the Remington on an auction. It was a stainless barrel Remington 700 in arguably one of the best calibers that has the name Remington plastered across the back of it, the Remington Ultra Magnum, the RUM. It sounds like it should be the Ultra Magnum, the ultimate. But the gun was not threaded at the muzzle, and it was actually causing some damage to my shooting hand while I was shooting on the bench. It's a bit of a kicker. I just really like the Magnums just for the hold on fur, not having to compensate for drop as much, or if you're a fan of big heavy bullets, it gives you just that bit of leeway to run heavier bullets and still maintain a decent velocity to carry that bullet out the distance. And as you know, here in Alberta, you could be in the bush and hunting 50 yards out of a tree stand or a ground blind, or you could find yourself in a situation that it's practically impossible to get closer to game than sub 500.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I know a couple of people that use the 300 rum and they wouldn't use anything else. They think it's the best caliber across the board. You find that your 300 Weatherby is pretty similar, or how would you say that compares?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, the Weatherby has a little bit less case capacity, so a little bit less horsepower. It's moving the same 30 caliber bullets, 50, 100 feet per second less, but kind of splitting hairs at that point. If my Remington Ultra Magnum was broke, I probably wouldn't have ended up with the Weatherby. I couldn't find a Remington Ultra Magnum with a threaded muzzle for a better price point than I could find this 300 Weatherby. Mm-hmm. So I opted for the Weatherby. Mainly, a big reason being it's a Weatherby rifle. I feel like it should shoot a Weatherby caliber. Yep. It's kind of maybe a little bit of a cliche, but it just kind of felt right. And I got nothing against the Remington Ultra Mag other than it's either got to be in a heavy rifle for myself, or it's got to have a device at the end to mitigate that recoil.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Now with the 300 rum that you had, did you find that the damage that it was doing to your shooting hand, was that affecting your mental shot game? Because I know with a lot of people, it's just the recoil that can cause flinching. So the actual physical damage, did you find that did anything to you?
Absolutely. I remember I was sighting it in the summer I got it. I think I was 28 shots deep and, beyond sighting in, but, testing at different yardages, if you will. Just having fun at the range with it. And I definitely, it definitely affected my trigger squeeze. I was trying to, hold the rifle forward or change my positioning. And then, my mental focus was definitely broken by it was the trigger guard. It was just smacking my middle finger, between the knuckle on your hand and the first knuckle of your finger. And it was literally bruised the next day. So I think mentally it definitely affected, my ability to shoot.
You just find yourself bracing yourself for the impact every time you pull the trigger, hey? That's terrible.
Big time. Yeah, no, it wasn't great.
Yeah, see, because I've always used the 300 Win Mag, at least for a majority of my hunting, and just dealing with the recoil year after year, eventually it just gets to be a little bit much. So I decided to dial it back a little bit. 257 Weatherby kicks a lot less, and honestly, I think for majority of the hunting that a guy's doing, which is typically like deer-sized animals, you don't really need a whole lot of gun. No,
and doing that 257 Weatherby it's definitely high on my radar of calibers I'd like to dive into. They're crazy flat shooting, and it was old Roy Weatherby's favorite cartridge he put out, according to the myth and the legend.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. And I think it's fantastic. I've had nothing but incredible success with it. I've dropped bears in the spot. My whitetail buck this year, dropped him where he stood. My antelope this year, same thing. And just a fantastic gun. I've got nothing but good things to say about it. And even just being in the Vanguard platform. So,
yeah, that whitetail you took this year was a absolute slob as well. Congratulations on that one.
Oh yeah, thanks, man. It's crazy how things happen when you least expect them. And I've kind of just text the story out into different descriptions on pictures and stuff. But just went to get a tree stand and caught a buck doing what bucks do that time of year, and was able to capitalize on it. So it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, man. Congrats on that one.
So with a big caliber like a 300 Weatherby, when your buck came out, and I know he wasn't too terribly far away, how much, like, what do you do when you're thinking about your shot placement? Like, are you really focused on being right behind that shoulder? Are you trying to plumb right in the middle of the shoulder to drop him on the spot? What's your approach?
Yeah, that's really situational in myself. Because I knew where he was going, for some reasons untold, I basically had the entire quarter section open for him to wander, and I knew if I put that bullet into his lungs, he wasn't gonna disappear on me. That's for sure. The shot placement, I was just looking to hit lung. I was hoping for a clean pass through. Wasn't looking to destroy any shoulder meat. Now, if he was facing the other direction and, could have potentially went onto the neighbors or something, the thought might have crossed my mind to maybe sink it into his shoulders and make sure that he, didn't take a couple yards of steps, like just kind of put him in his tracks. I mean, with the amount of shooting I do and the confidence I got in my equipment, I know where my bullet's going to hit, and I'm not trying to sound cocky with that at all. I don't know if you've ever read any of my posts or heard me on Alberta Wildlife Stories, but I always want to ensure that if there's any failure, it's on myself.
Yep.
So if I do everything right, my equipment's not going to fail me, and at least bring that down to such a minimal chance that my equipment, obviously anything mechanical can fail, but just absolute confidence in my equipment is very important to me. So just knowing my equipment, and if I do my part, it's going to do it's half of the battle. And I was aiming just behind that front shoulder, just looking to blow his lungs out. That was my goal. I wasn't, I could have been picky and probably tried to shoot the heart or something, but no, I just knew in that situation his lungs were all I needed to take out.
Oh, that's awesome. I just think because with a caliber like a 300, almost anything, you put that shot anywhere on that deer, he's not making it very far. And I think that's why a lot of people like that gun, is because you can have a marginal hit and it still doesn't take very long for the animal to go down. But that also, I think, like, your ammo that you're using plays a huge part in that.
Big time. And
especially when you're combining the different kind of ammo with the caliber, sometimes a shoulder shot might not be favorable on certain animals. So when it came to deciding what round you wanted to use out of this gun, how did you figure out the ammunition that you wanted to use?
Well, whenever I get a new rifle, it always starts with trying different grains, different style of bullets, different manufacturer of factory loads. I'm not a reloader. That will be something I get into the future, but currently I'm not. So I usually pick up between 5 and 10 different boxes of factory ammunition. Go to the local gun range. I sight in with whatever's the cheapest typically. With these Weatherby Magnums, you're north of $100 per 20 rounds easily. So yeah, just pick the cheapest one, get my zero, and from there it's all about just doing groups and seeing what this what the individual rifle wants to play with. If it groups well, and I can get repeated accuracy, especially with a cold bore shot. Just knowing where that cold bore is going to go, that plays a huge role into it. But also, I recently have been leaning more towards the monolithics, the all copper or copper blend bullets. My father, he's been a Ducks Unlimited volunteer for over, I think, 25 years now. He was nominated for Volunteer of the Year in Newfoundland. He actually won the provincial Volunteer of the Year for Ducks Unlimited, and then was nominated to partake in the competition, if you will, for Canada. He didn't take that award, but just the bird side of things, ducks, waterfowl, the eagles, all, conservation, just thinking about all animals. Their digestive tract just does not handle lead like ours will. I know a lot of guys aren't worried about eating a bit of lead out of a bird, a duck or the game animals after a shot, but all those animals that pick at your carcass or whatever, they're not going to survive from the lead if they do ingest it. So, kind of like a personal conservation thing. I mean, not many people probably care about magpies and stuff, but I just take my fair portion and try not to do as much damage as I can to the environment.
No, that's fair. Copper bullets have kind of been all the rage lately too, and I think that what you just shared is part of it. But even just from the standpoint that they theoretically hold together a lot better than lead bullets, do you find that copper bullets performance is really that much better than lead?
Yeah, from my experience, and I mean, take that with a grain of salt. I've been hunting for, I think it's 8 years. This is my 8th whitetail buck. I've seen, the Hornady ELDX. I had a 6.5 PRC when it came out. It was it was all the rage. Basically a Magnum 6.5 Creedmoor. At the time, there was a match offering from Hornady and the Precision Hunter offering using the ELDX 143 ELDX, and that's essentially just a cup and core bullet with a ballistic tip, extremely low drag, so really high BC, very very aerodynamic, and claimed by the manufacturer to be able to open at lower feet per second than the competition or whatever. I shot my 2020 buck. He's now my second largest buck that I've taken. 250 yards, and I actually did pinwheel him into the heart. But when I was, field dressing that specimen, as soon as I grabbed his heart, I had shrapnel throughout his lungs. His heart had it almost looked like you took a dull knife and sliced his heart a couple times randomly. That bullet just basically exploded.
Wow. So no pass through then, for sure.
Yeah, no pass through. Recovered a bunch, a handful of scrap metal, essentially, on the far side. And 250 yards, not a real long shot by any stretch of the imagination, especially out here out west. But I wasn't overly pleased with that. I've used some Hornady SSTs. I haven't used the Remington Core Locked or the Hornady Interlocked or stuff, but the monolithics. I took a doe this year at 350 yards. It was a frontal shot. That was using a 308 Winchester. It entered her chest cavity, just above the heart, say. Traveled the whole length of the deer and stopped in her pelvis. She ran probably 70 yards before she piled up and died. Not a crazy blood trail either. Just one hole, I guess, in the front of her chest.
Yep.
Then when we were field dressing her, we actually recovered the bullet in her pelvis, and it was the classic magazine picture of a pedaled out copper bullet. All the petals still attached, no fragmentation. Nice. Now, it wasn't complete expansion because of the distance and 308 Winchester being, more of a standard length cartridge, and just the distance. It's a short barrel rifle too, so it's it's got everything going against it. That's basically pretty much as far as that gun's able to shoot with those monolithics. But it did the job. Filled the freezer. Took a doe tag.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. When I started shooting my 300 Win Mag, I used HSM Burger bullets with hollow point and
Nice.
168 grains, and they were all the rage and pushed by everybody. So I was like, well, why not give them a try? But it was like as soon as you hit a bone with that bullet, it exploded. And the internal damage is like nothing I've ever seen on any caliber ever or any bullet. But you'd never get a blood trail ever.
Interesting, hey?
Yeah. So then I switched over. I think now I'm using Hornady SSTs. I
Nice.
did just pick up some of the CX, but
Sweet.
you get a lot better hold together. It passes through. You get blood trails. And like I know with a 300 Win Mag, you don't typically need much of a blood trail, but still
Mhm.
on an animal like an elk, if they run 30 to 40 yards, they're not usually running through like meadows and pasture. They're running into the thickest stuff that they don't want you to find them in.
Yeah,
So it's nice to be
exactly.
able to have that little bit of a blood trail to find them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you'll be impressed with those CXs. I certainly was. I used that same 308 Winchester to take a mule deer doe last year, broadside, 190 yards. And yeah, there was no recovering that bullet. It cleaned right through, and she went less sub 20 yards for sure before she piled up. So I think you'll be, I had a complete pass through, and now I had a bullet travel a mature doe in length, before stopping. So I mean, what's that? 48 inches, 50 inches of penetration.
Yeah, that's
Um,
pretty excellent.
yeah, you're going to be what grain did you pick up in the CX?
I want to say they're 165s.
Yeah, that's what I've been using at the 308. You're going to like those. They have a decent BC for the weight. Um,
Okay.
just not using the traditional cup and core style, just being a copper blend. As the only way to get weight into a bullet is to add length to it because it has to maintain the 308 width or frontal diameter. But because of that length, it's more aerodynamic, right? So you're gaining some BC without the weight. So your 165 is probably going to be, if you stacked it next to your SSTs, if they're a 180 grain SST, they're probably similar length,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're going to like those CXs. I'm definitely a fan.
I'm going to go put them side by side after we're done talking about this because now I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Do it.
Yeah,
I'd love to
no.
see a picture.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture. So when it comes to choosing your ammo, um, everybody has these different tipped bullets. So like you'll have the polymer tips or the hollow points or the soft points. Like, do you find that there's a huge difference in how those bullets group or the speed of those bullets? Like, is it really worth all of the advertisement?
I haven't really dove deep on testing between like lead tip or a soft tip, a polymer tip or a hollow point. I can speak to the BCs. If you take the Barnes TSX, their hollow point monolithic bullet, and their tip TSX, the TTSX,
Yep.
you gain quite a bit of BC with that. So I think it's worth getting a decent polymer tip. I believe Hornady before this, the CX line, it was called the GMX, and what people were finding was that it wasn't really performing downrange, from my research anyway, and speaking to a couple guys who used to run them. What was ending up happening is their polymer tip they were using on the older style bullets couldn't handle the heat. I believe I could be getting this completely wrong, but I'm gonna say it like I know it.
Yeah.
The heat from the air. So when it's shot out of the gun, as it's ripping through the air, the air heats it up. That polymer tip was deforming, and what people were finding was the BC was just dropping off as if it didn't have a polymer tip. So then Hornady came out with this heat shield tip, is what it's called, and and that was supposed to mitigate this issue. And I believe that's the biggest difference from their old GMX line, which was their blended copper monolithic no lead option, and into now the CX line.
Okay. No, that's interesting. I actually have heard that about polymer tips in general. It might have been more specific to that one, whatever it was that I had read. But I had no idea that that was an issue. It does make sense. I mean, you're sending plastic through the air at pretty tremendous speeds.
Yeah. So I believe this heat shield tip is supposed to have some type of engineering to it where it's a different polymer tip and it doesn't react to temperature the same way, Marketing.
Cool.
You know how that goes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. So say you're a person that just bought a brand new rifle.
Sure.
You want to go down and figure out what ammo to use out of your gun. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that they have a very picky rifle. I've been very fortunate in the sense that I've never had a picky rifle. I have witnessed it a little bit, but like, walk me through what you think the appropriate ammo testing process would be.
Ammo testing. Yeah. I mean, honestly, both rifles that I've spoke about so far, my 308 Winchester, it's a Ruger American Hunter. It's got the Magpul stock, a little bit tactical, as they call it, more of a range gun. And then this Weatherby, both my most recent rifle purchases are both very picky on ammunition. I believe it comes down to just your twist rates, making sure, a faster twist rate is going to favor, a heavier bullet, or a heavier bullet's going to favor a faster twist rate. So like 1 7 inches, 1 8 inches, 1 7 is extreme, but my Weatherby, I believe it's a 1 10. Could be getting that completely wrong.
That sounds about right.
But it loves 180 grain plus. I bought the Weatherby factory loads, which they're all hand loads technically out of the Weatherby factory. It's not a mass producer of ammunition, but the 165 interlocks, I would say the best group I could get out of that was between 7 and 8 inches at 100 meters. Out of that same rifle. Yeah, it was really bad. And then the 180 interlocks, so same style bullet, a little bit heavier, a little bit longer. Same Weatherby Select, the cheap Hornady interlock ammunition. 5/8 of an inch at 100 meters.
Oh, that's substantial.
Yeah, big difference. And that's the same, same powder, same manufacturer, just different weight bullet. So in my opinion, look at your twist rate, and then kind of not necessarily like only pick a heavy for caliber bullet, but maybe make sure you pick up one in that range. And I would say, pick up some lighter stuff, pick up some heavier stuff, and get out and get some trigger time. It's an expensive way of doing it. It's not, buying ammo that you don't know if your gun likes or not, or if you're going to use, but knowing, what grain of bullet it's into, what it likes to play with, is the route I go.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I've always wondered too, like if you bought 3 or 4 different boxes and right away off of your first 3 shots that, I don't know, say your gun doesn't like Federal, then what do you do with the rest of the 17 bullets, right? So yeah, I can see how that gets really expensive. Like I said, I've never really had to experience that. Anything I've thrown in my rifle, it has grouped tremendously. So fingers crossed it stays that way.
Yeah, you got lucky. It's good.
Yeah. Now, this is something that getting into the realm of I have no idea any of this stuff. Determining your ballistics and your feet per second, a lot of us don't have a chronograph. I think you said you have the Garmin one incoming.
Yeah,
correct.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to figure out your ballistics or your feet per second for your bullets and you don't have a chronograph, how do you go about doing that?
I nerded out on this pretty hard. I typically, so that whole sighting process with my 5 to 10 different boxes of ammunition, my mortgage payment of ammo that I don't know I'm going to use or not, I'll figure out my zero 100%. And, going through this process, let's say if it likes box X, that box It loves it. It shoots lights out, sub MOA all day. The cold bore shot, bullseye every time. We're good to go. At that point, once my gun is zeroed with that ammunition, I'll take my crosshair that I know is bang on at 100 meters or 100 yards, whatever you're doing, and I'll extend it another 100, so out to 200 yards, and I will keep that crosshair on bullseye as if it's 100 yards. I'll send a 3-shot group downrange, and let the bullets, obviously not hit the bullseye. It's going to be under. It's traveling a whole double the distance. Let the bullets hit, get a decent group, feel good about your trigger squeezes, make sure your environmentals are tight, and go down range with a measuring tape and or a set of calipers, and measure the distance from bullseye, where I was aiming, and how far down those bullets are hitting the paper. And at that point, I go into a ballistics calculator, put in your environmentals, your humidity, your pressure, your barometric, or not barometric, but your environmental pressure, all the factors that go into the ballistics calculator. Try to get that as accurate as possible. You only get in or you get out what you put in. So, garbage in is garbage out. So try to get that as accurate as possible. And then usually starting with the box feet per second. The box ammo always tells you, hey, our test barrel shot it at 2950. I'll usually start at that number, and I'll play with the figures on the ballistic calculator. I'll set it up so it tells me how many MOA or inches it's dropping in 10-yard increments. And what I'll do is I'll take my measurement. Let's say if it's 4 inches, I got 4 inches drop from 100 yards to 200 yards. I will play with the feet per second with all that other accurate information, the best of my abilities, until the feet per second line up with 400 or 4 inches at 200 yards at that point. And then I know, hey, I'm in the ballpark of feet per second. I call it redneck feet per second. But it has worked phenomenally for me.
No, absolutely. And if you don't have a chronograph, how else do you do it?
Well, it is, practically impossible. It is, if you put in good information, the proper temperature, humidity, your elevation matters, the pressure, the atmosphere matters that day, all those things, put all that good in there, and, you take those shots and you're confident that you were nice and steady on a bench rest or something at 200 yards. You got a good measurement, you know how to read a measuring tape, that's a requirement, but you're going to be minute of deer for sure.
Nice. I like what you said earlier about the confidence in your equipment. I always try to have the mindset that my equipment is going to always outperform me. So that way, when something does go wrong, I know that it's more on me than it is on the piece of equipment I'm using.
Absolutely. Now, this whole redneck feet per second stuff probably doesn't really sit well with that train of thought. It's still a little bit of guesswork, but you're closer than the box ammo, the box feet per second.
So then on the one that you're using, how far off of what the box says it is were you?
I believe, oh gosh, I wrote that down. I was, the measurements that I took, I was between 70 and 80 feet per second faster than the box from Barnes. Ooh. It was a Barnes Vortex VOR-TX Vortex.
So you're getting more out of it than what they think.
Yeah, I'm not sure what test barrel. I haven't dove into the website. Usually they'll tell you, that's out of a 24-inch test barrel or whatever. This Vanguard's got a 26, so maybe those couple inches are, getting me a little bit more velocity.
A couple hot spins right at the end there.
Yeah, I guess. Hey.
Yeah. So we'll get into scopes. What kind of scope do you have on that gun?
I got a Vortex Diamondback HP 4-16 by 42.
Okay.
It's a second focal plane, BDC reticle, 1-inch tube. Not a real crazy high-end scope or anything, but it worked well for me this year, I guess.
Yeah. So then the reticle inside of it, that's BDC?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. bullet drop
Okay.
compensating.
So when you're going to zero, I'm assuming you 0 to 200.
Nope. 100 meters,
No.
112 yards.
100. Okay. So, because I found this with different guns, the BDC, the lineup of it is really out of whack. If you choose to zero from 100 or 200, one of them lines up really, really good, and the other one typically doesn't. Have you noticed that too?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a real big misconception with a lot of guys. Not necessarily what you're finding with your 200 yard zero, but to put that scope on 0 at 100 and then just assume it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 on those hash marks, it's a bit of a misconception.
Mm-hmm.
The manufacturer, they take a bunch of different calibers. They take all that data and they're checking their drops at various ranges and compiling an average between a lot of the popular hunting cartridges, and they come up with a standardized amount of drop to put their holdovers at, and it certainly isn't lining up with every caliber that I've been shooting, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've always run Nikon scopes, and they don't make them anymore, which is an unfortunate thing in itself. And their BDC reticle out of my 257 lines up almost perfectly with the 204, 5, 6. But really? I had a 7-08, and if I zeroed it for 200, I was getting just wild numbers for all my extra dots. But at 100, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfect.
Wow, that worked out well.
Yeah. So you had mentioned to me that you were wanting to get a scope so that you could start dialing for your yardage a little bit more at some point. So that basically gives you the choice between mills or MOA. Like just looking at them from the outside as a beginner, I guess, which one is more appealing as far as ease of use?
In my opinion, it'd be the mills, the MRAD, milliradians. Just working in 1/10 to me makes a lot more sense than trying to do a little bit of mental math while you're, engaging steel targets at ranges or whatever. If you got a spotter or something who's calling out how many MOA you're off, in my opinion, I don't know why, metric system, Canadian, just the millrads seem to make more sense. I haven't really dove into it too much, but like yourself, I'm just starting to touch on that kind of stuff.
Okay. And you feel like mills would probably translate more from the range to the field application? Maybe. I'm not even sure if I'm going to use dialing to take game animals. I'm just so confident with the BDC reticles that I'm going to have a hard time transitioning from it to dialing. It might happen, but I'm going to have to spend a lot of time at the gun range getting really comfortable with dialing in my ranges, my yardages before I take that afield. No, that makes perfect sense. I feel the same way. I've spent pretty much my entire life as far as hunting goes just doing the holdover thing, and to me it makes the most sense. The only time I ever did a dial on an animal, I missed it. So I wasn't exactly sold on that idea.
Perfect, eh?
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk about what size of scope a person should buy, because this is something that I've gotten in this argument with a lot of people. I think that there's a lot of people that are over scoping themselves.
Big time.
Because majority of our hunting isn't done at 6, 8, 1,000 yards. What kind of scope or what size of scope should be sufficient and should be where people are throwing their money towards?
Well, the classic 3 to 9, it's a classic for a reason. I personally, I wouldn't go above 16 times on the upper end. I really find, like you say, in classic hunting scenarios, if you're at full magnification, you're not getting a field of view that's going to show even the entire game animal that you're pointing at. For that reason, and follow-up shots. If you squeeze that trigger, the big bang, everything happens, and you go try to get back on that animal and you're at 18 or 25, 24 times power. I mean, you're pulling your eye off that scope and looking around and trying to point again. And to me, you're limiting yourself on follow-up shots if required. Too much zoom. And, the BDC reticles, they're only accurate at one magnification because typically typically it's full power and the manufacturer has to pick the magnification. So that's usually what it is. And on a second focal plane scope is what you typically run your BDCs on. And I don't know. My next scope's probably going to be like a 2 to 10 or 3 to 10. Something a little bit even lower. I mean, I'm running a 16 right now. I think 16 would be the absolute highest magnification I'd put on a hunting rifle personally. I'm practicing my holdovers for an instance that could happen, but 90% of the time my deer are sub 200 yards and there's no need to be zoomed in on individual hairs.
No, that's fair. I got a couple of stories I'll tell you about that just from my own experience. So I have the scope on my 300 is a 5 to 20 for power, and or maybe it's 4 to 20. But either way, me being young and just starting to get into using that gun, I had that thing cranked to 20 every opportunity I got. And first bull elk I ever shot, I got nice and settled on him, pulled the trigger. And at 20 power, man, you think I could find that elk after I took that shot? Not a chance. I had to look in the field, see this thing was running around the corner of the fence line, zoom my scope pretty much all the way back out, line back up on this thing, zoom my scope back in, and lucky enough for me, he stood there long enough for me to get a follow-up shot off. So, yeah, I can definitely see how you can't see anything after you take your shot. And then this year, I use it's a 4 to 16 on my Vanguard.
Nice.
And I actually found myself at 16 power. I didn't like how shaky it was. So I would actually back it off to about anywhere from 8 to 10 power. And it helped me in the shooter mindset settle down to the point where I was like, oh, you know what? I'm actually calm enough to make this shot. And both times that I ended up doing that this year, both on the antelope and my whitetail, it worked out quite well. So to me, I'm almost thinking that 12 power wouldn't even be bad, or 14.
Yeah, that 308 that I took that doe at 350 yards with, that was a 12 power. It was a Vortex Vanquish. It was I think it's the cheapest hunting scope Vortex offers. I think it's $219 at Cabela's right now. I think it goes on sale for like $200 even.
Oh, really?
It's really
wow.
Yeah, it's real cheap. It's got a BDC and it's 4 to 12. I do like going a little bit over that, 3 to 9 for Western hunting. The situations that I get into, it's here in East Central Alberta. You're hunting cross prairie, agriculture fields, probably similar to what you're seeing up there. There's pockets of bush and stuff, but you could run into a situation where you need to take a little bit of a poke, or if your follow-up shot needs to be a little bit of a poke, it's nice to get in there a little bit more. But yeah, like you say, with that 20, it's a lot of magnification to be playing with. I mean, to be honest, I don't have a spotting scope, so my binoculars, I got 12 by 50. So I mean, 16, 20 times powers is more than what I'm using to scout or find my game. And I only look through my scope once I know that I want to kill something. So the binoculars, they're used a hell of a lot more in my rifle scopes.
Yeah, no, and that's the way I think it really should be. Now back to the zoom part of the scope. There's some people feel like, I don't know, say your animal's at 100 yards. They think that you should be able to make that shot at 3 power and that you shouldn't really have to zoom in unless it's a little bit further, but even then only to so much. Do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, no, I think it's so situational. If you're, with bow hunting in both of our backgrounds, getting close is always a goal to, to get close to our game. And he put a rifle over my shoulder. I'm still hunting like I'm a bow hunter. I'm getting the wind right, minimalizing my movements, and I'm trying to get close. So if that deer, like with archery, most of my shots, the animal isn't aware of my presence. So if I've got a situation where I can zoom in and pinpoint, okay, there's the crease in the shoulder, I'm just going to move it back an inch, with that confidence, with my zero, my cold bore shots and all that stuff, I know it's going to impact where I put the crosshair. But now if you're coming into a section of land or a pit of private or public land and you jump some deer and they're 100 yards away looking at you, wondering what the heck you are, and you're on 3 times, you need to take a pop shot. I think it's doable. I think 100 yards with iron sights was commonplace, for just a couple generations back, guys with the lever guns shooting 30-30s and stuff, it comes down to your own abilities and trigger time. You got to spend a lot of time knowing your equipment and get familiar with it and being good with it before you go shooting animals. Obviously, I know you're of that mindset as well.
Yeah, it's something that I found too, because when I was younger and started hunting, it was primarily with a rifle, and I always found that I needed a little bit more zoom to be focused on where I wanted to shoot that animal.
Sure.
Now I'm at the point where I do a lot more bow hunting than I do rifle hunting. And when I jump back behind the rifle, because I'm so used to holding my pin on such a small target on my bow, I feel like it's easier for me to settle down my crosshairs, even though I'm not super zoomed in on an animal.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wanted to also talk about some of the new Weatherby guns. You're a big Weatherby guy. I don't know if it's because you love Weatherby or if it's because you love some of the guys that endorse it. Because your 300 Weatherby is a Hush gun, right?
That's right. Yeah, Hush edition. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they definitely helped me, just as much as Meat Eater did, as cliche as all that is, to get away from the truck hunting. So
no, that's awesome.
Hats off to them for putting out some good quality footage and good editing and stuff to inspire me to do better.
Yeah, no, for sure. Meat Eater was the other one I was going to bring up because I know you're a big fan of that.
Right.
And I think that's fantastic that you looked at their stuff that they put out and decided, I'm going to get away from this hunting style and get into a real hunting style. Because I think if there's a lot more people that took that approach, that it would probably be a lot nicer in the woods sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes it more personal, and the sense of accomplishment is tenfold. If you're hunting out of the, I'm going to make a joke here, the Alberta tree stand, a 5.7 Hemi with heated seats, the accomplishment isn't as rewarding as strapping up some boots and going out there and getting after it.
Yeah, exactly. So with Weatherby, they just released the new 307, and I know we talked about this gun a little bit. It looks pretty nice, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you want? I had the chance to shoulder one at one of the local gun stores. I was working in remote Alberta, and they had some 307s. It wasn't, the Meat Eater. It was a standard edition. I believe they call it the Range.
Okay.
Yes, Range XP. Like we were talking about the Vanguard, just feeling like, a little bit more premium than the lower end of other manufacturers. This one takes it up another notch. I would say it's very similar feeling to the Mark Vs that I've, shouldered, dreaming of owning someday. Spiral fluted barrel with the AccuBrake. The stock had very ergonomic lines with the adjustable cheek piece and stuff. Get yourself nice and comfortable behind your scope. Action felt smooth. It's a Remington 700 blueprint, so anything that fits on a Remington 700 is going to fit on this new 307.
Yeah, it's extremely customizable.
It's to kind of call it a new action. They're saying it's their first new action in however many years. It's kind of not their action, but yeah, I'm cool with it. I got no problems with it.
Yeah, I think in the video that I watched, one of their guys basically said it was like a Lego gun where you could take and pretty much put anything that you wanted on it because it was compatible with so many different other editions.
Yeah, I mean the Remington 700 in my eyes is, it's like the AR-15 of bolt guns. You see how many guys can different configurations for their AR-15s. The Remington 700, might not be to the same extent, but you can, triggers, magazines, stocks, scope mounts, bolts. You can change it all on those Remingtons. It's essentially it's like a Lego gun. I like that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
For sure, I'm gonna steal that from you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I stole it from somebody else, so I mean, pass it along. The Vanguard to the Mark V, you feel like that 307 is like smack dab right in the middle as far as quality goes?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't hunted with a Mark V or a 307, but just shouldering it, checking out the stiffness of the fore end of the stock, and to me, it felt just as quality as the AccuMark that I was drooling over one day. But the price point is lower than the Mark V, so there's something missing, I guess. If they aren't charging the huge premium that they are for the Mark Vs, But I'm a fan.
With the 307, are they machining those barrels in U.S.?
Yeah, they're in Wyoming. The name, the model 307. 307 is actually the area code for Wyoming. So that's that. It's made in America.
The Vanguards are all Japanese, right? Because Howa makes those.
Exactly. So the Weatherby guys will jump on you if you're shooting a Vanguard and say, "Oh, it's not a true Weatherby."
Yeah,
a couple forums I've been on.
There. Good enough.
Yeah, good enough. Shoots a Weatherby caliber.
Well, exactly. I think one of the most appealing things about Weatherby is that like they take a basic rifle and they make it feel like it's more, and like if you're sitting there and you're looking at like a Savage Axis or Ruger or even a Tikka T3 or T3X, I feel like the Weatherby Vanguard just feels like a nicer gun.
Yeah, I'd place it up there with the X bolts, the Brownings.
That's fair.
They put in a nice premium product, and yeah, I'd put the Vanguard right there with them, especially when you start getting into the I'm not sure which ones you've got. The like my Hush, I'm gonna speak to that. It's got a Cerakoted barrel, it's got fluting on the barrel, it's got a spider web texturing on the stock. If it's got premium features, that just make it feel less synthetic, less mass produced, less, dime a dozen than your Axis or your T3X.
Yeah, no, that's makes perfect sense. I had an X bolt in 7.8, and then I figured that my 257 did just as much or more in my Vanguard, and I liked the feel of the Vanguard more, and I ended up actually selling that 7.8. But that's a good example too.
Which model Vanguards are you running?
I've got, my 30-06, I'm not really entirely sure. It's got the tungsten Cerakote on it, and it's got a threaded cap for a brake, but it didn't come with one. And then the stock has more like a splatter finish to it, so cool. It feels pretty nice. I'll send you some pictures of it.
Is that backcountry?
No, it's not. It's very much just like a typical Vanguard, but with like a couple of little extras on it.
Huh.
Yeah, and it costs less than majority of the Vanguards do, so I couldn't say no. And then my 257 is stainless, and it's just a Vanguard Series 2.
Nice. Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Are you up in Lloydminster, is that right?
Yeah. I spend a lot of time around here for work.
That Prophet River, they got some wicked selection of Weatherbys.
Yeah, I bought my Mark V from there, and then I also bought my shotgun from there, and I've convinced a lot of people to go do some shopping there because, their selection, it's fantastic.
Great pricing, too. I know, which shotgun from Weatherby are you running?
I'm trying to remember what this thing's called. It's got the tungsten finish, the longer barrel. It's a 12 gauge semi-automatic.
The Element?
Yes, maybe that is the one, Element.
Nice, beautiful
Yeah.
shotgun.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I did some clay shooting with it, and yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge bird hunter or anything like that. I've done some shooting clays throughout my life, and this thing hammers the clays as good as any other gun, if not better.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have a nice shotgun. I'm running a Mossberg Maverick 88.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the cheapest pump gun you can buy at Cabela's. Yeah, it kills birds, but
Yeah.
nothing
No, it's
fancy.
yeah. See, and I felt with this one, like for it being like under the 1,000 price point, and
Sure,
also being semi-automatic, it was pretty hard to say no to that.
of
It was a good
course.
deal. Now back to the Mark V and the Vanguard stuff here. Vanguards, and I looked into this before we got on here. The 307s both have a 2-lug action,
Yes,
whereas the Mark V has a 6-lug, or a Magnum has the 9-lug.
that's
And
right.
this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like going from a 2-lug to a 6-lug action, like what's the noticeable difference there?
Well, I think what they've essentially done is they've taken, well, like the X Bolt, the Tikas, I believe they're 3-lug. So I mean that helps just reduce the bolt angle. So to extract or rack another round, your bolt has to travel. It has to rotate less with more lugs. But now the 6 and the 9, I believe they're essentially a 3-lug that are divided. So instead of, you're taking your 3-lug design and putting 2 lugs where each individual lug on a 3 would be, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now the 9-lug, I believe that was designed by Roy for running his, crazy magnums, his, 460 Weatherby Magnum and stuff like that.
Okay.
I believe that's the idea. It essentially is like a 3-lug. It's just got, they're more like running in series. Is that right? Am I saying that correct? It's just, yeah. I think it's not a whole lot different than a 3-lug. It's just there's more fore and aft, is my understanding. I don't know if it's necessary with today's technology to have that many lugs to run these magnums. I could be completely wrong. I'm no engineer or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is, a 3-lug over a 2, you're just going to have less of a bolt throw. That's the biggest takeaway to my knowledge.
Okay, so that directly contributes to the angle of your bolt when it's open, hey?
Yeah, it speeds things up, or if you're running an optic, your bolt isn't going to get as close to it, or your knuckles anyway.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now, this is something I've heard about Weatherby a lot, and this is a deterrent for a lot of people, is when you get a Weatherby in one of their Weatherby crazy calibers, like the 257, which is screaming those 257 bullets out at like 3,000 feet per second plus,
Yeah.
people get concerned about burning out their barrels.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't shoot nearly enough to burn out a barrel anywhere near in my lifetime. You do a lot more shooting than I do. What do you think about that?
That's a good question. I personally don't worry about it because I don't plink with ammo that costs $5 a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
My 300 Weatherby, it's a hunting gun. It's got its purpose. It's the right tool for a right job. When I'm going to the gun range, my 308 Winchester, I can find ammunition for, sub $2 a shot and shoot all day without blowing a budget. That Weatherby, to do the exact same thing, you'd be looking to spend north of $500. It's
wild.
yeah. So for me, my Weatherby, I'll take it out maybe for one range session and just run it through the paces and get a feel for it. Make sure my zero's tight and it's performing how I want it to have the confidence that you and I both require to go afield with our guns. So if my Weatherby runs through half a box of ammo a year, that's a lot. It's probably going to be less. And for myself to shoot 1,500 rounds, I mean, you could at 10 rounds a year, I'm never going to burn that barrel out. So, I mean, no doubt, if somebody's out there and they're shooting 6.5, 300 Weatherby mag all day long, every day, or, they're every weekend, you could burn out a barrel. I mean, it comes down to the amount of powder you're sending down range, and the size of the bullet matters as well. So, your 257, I'm not sure what the case capacity is on those things, but I don't think it's too far off what my 300 Weatherby is either. So it could technically burn out quicker. I don't pay too much attention to that for my utility guns. Guns that I'm using to take game with, it's not a concern. Well, this one in particular, it's just a lot of powder. It's a real hot cartridge, and it's really expensive to shoot a lot. So, in my opinion, to make that a big concern in which caliber I choose, or which cartridge I choose, to hunt with, is a moot point.
I also feel like the calibers that they have to offer probably aren't the ones that people are using for like PRS shooting.
No, I wouldn't say either. No, I mean, you've got Hornady's new PRC line, right? The 6.5, 7, 300. Those are definitely going to be among the top. And then any of the extreme long range guys, you're getting like the guys with the 357 Shy-Tech or whatever. They're hand loaders. They're shooting wildcats. Guys that are that serious are well versed in how to change a barrel, and burning out a barrel is probably not even on their radar as a concern.
This term wildcats, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, Wildcat's just a cartridge that isn't SAMI approved, right? So SAMI is a regulatory body that legalizes manufacturers to retail bullets to the general public, designed pressures and parameters, and for gun manufacturers, they go there to get the dimensions that they need to build produce their actions and barrels to be sold in a copious amount of countries. But the Wildcat guys are guys who are out shooting non-SAMI approved cases, because essentially we're just playing with metal and gunpowder, right? So I mean, anybody could make a bullet out of brass, molten brass, and shape it and shoulder it. I mean, Weatherby, he was a wildcatter essentially, right? Just taking, was it 300 H&H and blowing the shoulders out, making his radius shoulders on his cartridges, and then eventually just became so mass produced and SAMI approved that it he went from a wildcatter to a standard issue manufacturer for his own cartridges, right? Streamlined them.
Well, that makes sense. Now I don't know if you know this or not, or if you can confirm, Tikka and Sako, they build theirs to a different standard. Is that correct?
I've never heard this. This is news to me, but I am very interested.
So somebody told me this the other day, and they said that part of the reason that they don't come out with some of these different calibers that everybody else does is because in Finland, the regulatory body would essentially reject them.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess this is something that we can both do some more research on.
Yeah.
But I heard that the other day, and I thought that was kind of surprising. But in the same light, it kind of makes sense.
Maybe. I'd be shocked if it was true, but yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm completely ignorant to anything that goes on with that stuff, but
yeah, okay, fair enough.
Interesting.
You touched on this earlier, but this is something I wanted to bring up. I feel like when you buy a Weatherby gun, and you made a different point to this with the 307, but I feel like buying a Weatherby gun in a non-Weatherby caliber is almost a sin.
Yeah. That's why I bought the 300 Weatherby in that Vanguard.
Okay. But you said that if you could get a 307, what caliber would it be?
If you're a flavor fanatic, you need this seasoning in your life. Get ready for a taste explosion. Meet the Peak Blend from Man Mountain Company. This isn't just any seasoning. It's the ultimate flavor booster for every dish. Imagine your beef, pork, chicken, or fish bursting with incredible taste. But wait, there's more. Peak Blend is perfect for veggies, eggs, popcorn, fries, and even wild game. It's like having a magic wand in your kitchen. Whether you're grilling, smoking, or just whipping up a quick meal, Peak Blend turns ordinary into extraordinary. Think about it. Every bite, an adventure in flavor. So why settle for bland when you can have the best? Head over to manmountainco.com and order your Peak Blend today. Your taste buds will thank you. Remember, with Peak Blend, every meal is a masterpiece. Don't miss out. Get yours now.
Ooh, probably a 7 PRC.
Okay, and that's not a Weatherby caliber.
No, I know. But see, okay, so this is my own nonsense that's going to play out here. I
Okay,
own
perfect.
a Weatherby in a Weatherby caliber. Now I'm free to go. I can play how I want. So I can buy any Weatherby in whatever caliber I wish from here on out because I have the Weatherby in a Weatherby caliber. So
You
I'm now
completed
good to go.
initiation.
Yeah, my own pressures, my own restraints have been satisfied. So I'm free to go.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, this is another thing that we talked about. I asked you something once about a 30-06, and you said, "Why would I want Grandpa's old odd 6?" And I asked you what your deal was with all of this stuff, and you said that you did not like vanilla cartridges. So, what is with this anti-vanilla cartridge stance?
Well, I don't know. Life's too short, I guess, to drive a boring car, right? You've heard that before, I'm sure. Life's too short to be shooting these boring calibers. No, I just feel like the .06 in particular. You said you have a 300 Winchester Magnum.
Yes, I do.
Way outperforms the 30-06. Does everything the .06 can and more. Yeah. Why? If you're looking at a gun for $9.99 and there's a 30-06 and a Win Mag next to it, I don't see. The difference in recoil is minimal in reality. The 06 is known as a kicker. I just think you're limiting yourself. And also, 308 exists. They replaced the 30-06. It practically does the same thing as the 06 and with less powder and a shorter action. I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this one, Tyler. But
no, that's good. That's good. I'd like to know, why not 30-06? I feel like it is tried and true, the all around caliber.
I'll tell you what, I'll take a 303 British over a 30-06.
And I've always heard that people would rather throw their 303 British at the deer than shoot at it.
Oh man, yeah, no, I don't know. I've just got a personal vendetta on the 30-06 just because it is king of the hill for deer hunting in North America.
I guess. Yeah, see, and I killed my first animal ever with a 30-06. I've killed some of my biggest animals with a 30-06, so maybe that's why I'm a little partial to it.
Yeah, I started at the other end. I killed my first buck. I'm looking at his antlers right now with a 338 Win Mag.
Holy smoke.
Wasn't even my gun. Oh man.
You looked at him and you decided he was not getting away.
Well, he was rubbing his antlers on a tree. He was at a fresh rub, and when I shot him and walked up to him, his antlers were still tied up in that tree. He didn't take his last breath. Poor guy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cannon, but long story on that one.
Well, sometime here. I want to get into calibers a little bit more here, just talking about different ones, but I'm going to preface this a little bit with a question. And what is our realistic range that we should be keeping in mind when it goes out, when we go out for hunting?
Yeah, that's a very personal question. It's a very specific situational question. There's so many things that needs to come into play. But I'll tell you one factor that is an absolute limitation is when it comes down to your velocity, you have to maintain a minimum velocity in order to have proper bullet expansion. I don't care what it was, lead, cup, and core, or monolithic. They all have a minimum requirement for proper expansion to ethically kill game animals with. So I guess that would be the absolute answer. Myself, I like to keep things as close as possible.
Of course.
I've taken a cow elk at 497. Just situational, I was in a prone position. It was a cross coulee shot. It was featureless. It was on the Suffield, the army base. and there's just no getting closer to that animal. Situational, and just that was a 300 Remington Ultra Mag. I knew I could reach and maintain that minimum velocity at 500 yards, and it did the job. But most people, and it's hard to speak for the general public, right? I mean, you don't know if that one guy out there in that orange vest is, if he's a competition shooter and capable of whatever with his rifle, or what kind of rest do you have? How sturdy are you? Are you freehand? There's so many things that come into play. Yeah, exactly. Is your heart racing out of your chest? There's so many things that come into it. But I'd love if I could kill every animal going forward under 300 yards. That'd be ideal.
Okay, so I'll rephrase this question a little bit differently. Instead of how far should you be shooting, realistically, majority of your encounters are going to be within a certain range. What do you feel like that is?
Most of mine have been sub 100 yards.
Yeah, crazy, hey? So a guy goes out to the range and he's practicing for 300, 400 yards. I know that makes you better at closer ranges. But you go out there with the mindset, and this is another thing I wanted to bring up. 400 yards seems to be almost the standard now when it comes to comparing calibers. And like you said, sub 100 yards is majority of your encounters. Why does that 400 yards even matter when people are comparing different guns?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess, worst case scenario, or, you make a bad shot and it runs off, and your next opportunity maybe is somewhere between 200 and 400 yards. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I would imagine, and I'm pulling this out of the air, but I would imagine most animals killed, even in this province, is going to be under 300 yards. There's going to be some outliers, obviously, that are well beyond that, but it certainly shouldn't be people's focus is, shooting at long distance to kill animals. I think, shooting at long distance will magnify your issues with shooting, your trigger squeeze, your breathing, your rest, your, how steady you are. If there's any issues with your ammunition, shooting at a gun range out that far and seeing what your bullets are doing is definitely a good practice in my mind, especially in Western Canada or Western United States. But to go out hunting with it in mind that, hey, do you want that animal's 400 yards away and I'm going to take a poke? I can't. I mean, that's half a quarter section. I mean, that's, there's a lot of opportunity to get closer. I mean, sure, there's situations like myself on Suffield where it absolutely was impossible to get 2 yards closer. I mean, that's as close as I can get to that elk. Mm-hmm. So it's very situational, but yeah, I don't focus my pursuit at shooting steel at long range as if it's my goal for killing animals.
No, absolutely.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I think that majority of the animals I've shot have probably been within 190 yards, right? So and I typically zero at 200, so that's not even as far as my zero, right?
Yeah, exactly. So no holdover for yourself. Just put it on fur.
Yeah.
Send it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I've had a couple of times that whitetail I shot this year, he was in that 300 yards range where the drop is pretty minimal. The furthest shot I've ever made was on a bull elk at 390 yards, and I shot him. He spun around, gave me time to line up again, and I got another shot off, which, I mean, that's an ideal situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's very, very unlikely that I've had a situation where I was going to even be faced with a shot like that. Yeah.
I mean, it can happen, and, being prepared to take those shots or being able to, have the confidence to be able to take that shot. It's nice to have, but I don't think it's everybody's situation when they go field.
No, for sure. And one I wanted to throw in there because you said something about the average. If you factor in all of the people rolling around in the Alberta hunting blind,
Yeah.
I would say that average is pretty close.
Yeah. Potentially, hey? Oh, boy.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of shooting, a lot of practicing. How far would you attempt a shot on an animal in perfect conditions?
Perfect conditions, perfect rest. Oh, man. Yeah, perfect conditions. And if I had 3 more days of hunting afterwards, say I was on a destination hunt, under 400 yards, I'd say 400. I'm going to cap it at 400.
Okay.
Yeah.
So say you're on a destination hunt. It's the biggest animal that guide has ever seen, but he's at 485. Would you take the Hail Mary?
Am I using my Weatherby?
No, I said, are you going to take a Hail Mary?
Take a Hail Mary. If I've got my Weatherby Magnum,
Yeah.
furthest I'm going to shoot is 625, and that's the top of my post on my Vortex scope.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect conditions, perfect rest. Animal's not spooked. No crosswinds. Middle of the day, say, so there's lots of time. Yeah, I'll send one at 625.
Yeah. Okay. That's not bad.
Perfect conditions.
Well, yeah, of course. Now into some of these calibers, more specific. 30-06, I said that was the do all round. You have your own thought on that. A couple other ones, and this one here, I can't understand this, and it drives me nuts. 6.5 Creedmoor. What is with people thinking that you can shoot elk at 600-700 yards with this gun?
That's absolutely nonsense, is what that is.
It's a deer gun.
Yeah, I mean, you can kill elk with. I've heard stories of 243. I know
of course
people that kill elk with bows and arrows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can kill them with a sharp stick, you can kill them with any legal bullet. The 6.5 Creedmoor, I think there's big misconception with it being I'm going to use air quotes, a flat shooting cartridge, when it really, in practical terms, it's no flatter. Actually, it's not as flat as a 270. Jack O'Connor special. The grain weight isn't there for me personally to be toting that around as an elk gun. If a person is going to use it as an elk gun, I would say keep it under 300 yards. I would not use it, even on deer. I don't think I would want to use it as a extended range hunting round. I mean, it's a great target round. It's got a high ballistic coefficient. It bucks the wind really nicely. It carries its speed. It doesn't shed its speed very quickly while it's going down range in comparison to Grandpa's old 30-06.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't have the grain. It doesn't have the weight. It doesn't have the punch, in my opinion. I mean, you could step it up to the 6.5 PRC, gain yourself 200 feet per second, and you might stretch
sense.
that. Maybe. You're still, it's the same bullet, right? So it's the frontal diameter that gets me with hunting cartridges. It's 6.5 caliber bullet. It's only going to expand. Was it 3/4 of its size? So 6.5 times 3/4. It's not very large. After expansion, it's still not very large. The 7, I believe, has a decent percentage of growth after it mushrooms out and hits the bullet. The 30 caliber is an absolute no-brainer. Plenty of proof out there that a 30 caliber bullet is adequate for hunting. The 6.5, just the frontal diameter, is I believe limiting to me especially on very large game like an elk or a moose. But you can do it, but you got to keep it within very tight quarters. I don't believe it's a long range hunting round at all. It like you say, guys think that they should shoot elk at 700 yards. Dude, I wouldn't use my Weatherby at 600 yards or 700 yards. Sorry, like I said, 625 perfect conditions. That's as far as I'm going to stretch my Weatherby. You can get closer.
I also feel like once you get to a certain distance, it's almost not even hunting.
Yeah, well,
that's my personal thing on it.
Yeah,
I feel like, and this is a lot of, I'd say, let's say southern US, where they're hunting canyons, and they
Right.
spotted a deer at 1,100 yards. And for some reason, the guy behind the gun is a sharpshooter, and he can dial in and knock that deer over. Like, yeah, that's cool. You found a deer, but the only thing you had to do that day was be able to hike and shoot a gun.
Yeah. People do it for clout, wrong reasons.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
There's, on the flip side, to be able to shoot that far, that's a skill in itself. I personally would lean towards your side of the fence, where I got out of truck hunting into strapping up some boots, putting on a backpack, and going find animals, because I wanted that sense of adventure. I wanted that hunt. So I think to be sitting on top of a canyon and shooting down in there 1,200 yards away, freaking quarter mile, whatever it is, it's like it's moving back towards truck hunting. It's taking away from the hunt.
I agree.
I think shooting at targets is one thing. Have fun. Shoot as far as you can. That's great. Yeah, that animal takes a couple steps. You have a flat out miss, or you shoot its leg and blow half its leg off, and it wanders off wounded, and you didn't do any hunting that day.
Yeah, I agree. And I think all it takes is for them really to shift their footing, and
That's all
it changes the impact big time. There's an account I follow on Instagram. I think everybody does. It's that Kill Shot Central. And
never heard of it.
No, okay, I'm going to send you something from it. You're going to see some incredible shots on there, and you're going to see some where it's like, why did you even send this in? But a guy the other day shot a mule deer, and it was at the extreme distance. I can't remember what it was exactly, but shot him right through the guts.
Oh, God.
And I just thought to myself, like, well, perhaps where you were, it looked like it was a perfect shot, perfect conditions, but maybe a little bit further down range where there's a bit of a swirl in the wind or a gust or something, you didn't realize that was there, and that's what accounted for your bullet drifting the 2 feet that it did.
Yeah, exactly. It's that's a testament to those high BC bullets and stuff, but then people rely on it and shoot the Creedmoor, or the 300 PRC, 7 PRC, all those 28 Nosler, anything with those high BC bullets, they think, it's got high BC, it's gonna buck the wind better. I don't have to worry about that, cross coulee shot or cross canyon shot or across the county shot as this guy was taking. But yeah, it's unfortunate, man, that guys think that they need to be the lone star sniper out there,
Yeah, see, and I think it's fine if you're able to make that shot and majority of your hunting is within that 300-400 yards tops, and then all of a sudden you have that one opportunity and that you can make it. Yeah, fire away. But like the guys that are like, I only shoot deer that are 600 yards, it's like, come on, man, do better.
Yeah, there's no need. Like even that 350-yard frontal shot, I made a short little Instagram reel on it, and I really anticipated getting flack. I was like, man, people are going to be like, why are you shooting 350 yards at a frontal doe? Like when you wait for it to turn broadside or whatever, I expected something from that. I didn't get much, but I had confidence in my equipment. And,
absolutely.
It's situational. Once again, situational.
Yep. No, for sure. I mean, people are going to have something to gripe about when it comes to 100-yard broadside shots. So, I mean, fill your boots.
True.
Another caliber that I think when we're talking about calibers that can do a lot as far as across the board hunting, 280 Ackley. I think that this is one that really intrigues me, and someday I'd like to own a gun in this caliber. I think since Weatherby started making ammunition for it, it makes it a lot more appealing.
Yeah, big time.
What do you think about that?
I love the 280 AI. I don't know if I haven't dove into it enough for me personally for it to swing me from the 7 PRC. They're both shooting 7mm cartridges.
Mm-hmm.
But I might go 7 PRC over 280 AI. I know a lot of the mountain guys love the 280 AI. I think it's got a little bit more of like that Weatherby appeal. The Stardust of Weatherby, a little bit more of like the boys club kind of cartridge. To me, it's like a 7 mag, just a little bit better. The 7s, they definitely have a sweet spot in my heart, and 280 AI is interesting for sure. It's but I don't know if the scales might have been tipped when that 7 PRC came out for myself.
Yeah, so that one's really popular right now. What do you like about it?
The 7s are known to have really high BCs. Even the 7 mag in comparison to like the 300 mag. I like that. I like the frontal diameter, the 7 millimeters, and its expansion. I remember seeing or reading about the difference in expansion over, like, say, even a 6.5. And it's crazy to think that we're talking about half a millimeter, like how little of a difference that is. But to me, the 7s, I just think they're a really good all around cartridge. So, like, your 257 Weatherby mag. I think that's an excellent mule deer, whitetail, antelope, like top tier pick for those kinds of game. Moving into elk, sure, I wouldn't give anybody flack for using that. Are there better options for elk? In my opinion, yes. But that 7 PRC for like an all around, and the 280 AI, we're splitting hairs between the two. The 7s, I'm just going to speak to them in general. 7 Rem mag, 280 Remington, even you can throw that in there. It's not quite as fast, but all of them, the 7s, to me, are just like the ultimate all around diameter for a bullet for Western hunting or North American game.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that. Now I'm going to throw one in here, and I think if ammo availability wasn't a question, I think that this gun would absolutely blow the doors off the market, and that's 6.8 Western.
Yeah, dude, I'll tell you what, I think we're going to see a little bit of a resurgence.
I've noticed more ammo coming into even like Prophet River here.
Is that so? I seen Christensen Arms now offers it as a option. So previously, it was only Browning and Winchester, the manufacturer that made that cartridge, that offered brass, ammunition, and rifles chambered in 6.8 Western. Now Christensen, just recently, like within the last month, has started to offer 6.8 Western as an option to have their, boutique rifles made up in. Really nice. I think because the U.S. military or whatever, the Army, is moved on to that SIG 277 Fury.
Yep.
I think the pendulum's always swinging. They're always coming out with something new for us to buy and blow a mortgage payment on for a rifle. I think we're going to see. They kind of did the 6.5 and the 300 PRC, and now they're doing the 700 PRC or 7 PRC. I think we're going to move from 7s into that 270 caliber, that 277. And that 6.8 Western is a stand-up cartridge for hunting, man. The 270 Jack O'Connor special, it's he touted it, he sold it for years in his magazines and his books. He was an advocate for that 270 for how flat shooting it was and how the knockdown power. And that 6.8 Western, technically speaking, it is a 270 Winchester short mag with a shorter neck to hold, the bullets outside of the case, the increased case capacity. So it's a modernized 270 Winchester short mag. Phenomenal performance. It was just kind of, it's competing against Hornady and their team in marketing, putting out the 6.5 PRC, and I think it lost that battle. But I hope we see a resurgence in it because I personally, I do like 277 caliber. I like the 270 Winchester short mag. I took a deer with one once. I told a story on Alberta Wildlife Stories, one of my mishaps within my hunting career, and that was with a 270 Winchester short mag, and beautiful gun, absolute banger of a cartridge, and then modernize it a little bit further to have higher for caliber weight bullets and higher BCs. I think you got a performer there. It's just I think it just lost the battle against Hornady when it came out.
Yeah, I think Hornady just they definitely know how to promote theirs, and they came out with a lot more steam, I think, than 6.8 Western. And I think because of that, a lot of rifle manufacturers opted to chamber their rifles in the PRC rounds as opposed to the Western.
Yeah, I think it was timing.
Oh, absolutely it was, and very poor timing at that.
Yeah.
Now, they all just, like you said, it's basically a 270 short mag. Like, you're reinventing the wheel. How many times do you think they can reinvent the wheel until they run out of ideas?
I think they're going to do it until they stop making money. It's it's one of those things. The 270 short mag, the problem, it's not the cartridge that's the problem, in my opinion. It's the rifle manufacturers. So like the 270 short mag, you're not going to get that fast twist rate in a product on a shelf at Cabela's or your local gun store. You're going to have to get a custom barrel made up in order to shoot those longer projectiles accurately. So, the 6.8 Western, it's essentially the same piece of brass, but just the design allows it to, and the way it's shouldered, shoulder angle, allows it to run those higher bullets. And then Winchester and Browning and now Christensen are going to offer barrels in a quicker twist rate to accommodate those heavier bullets. So I don't think it's necessarily a limitation of the bullet. It's more so, the bullet came out early 2000s, I believe, for the 270 Winchester short mag, maybe late 90s, 1990s. High BC bullets weren't really on anybody's radar. So they weren't, 1 in 11, 1 in 12 twist, whatever it is on a 270 short mag. A reloader can take a heavy for caliber bullet, stick it in their 270 short mag as long as it's within its overall length and case length. Absolutely shoot it, but it's not likely going to perform as well out of a slower twist rate barrel. So the rifle they come out with a new cartridge. It's kind of like they got to come out with a new style barrel or a new twist rate on their barrels from all the manufacturers, right? So it's a little bit of a combination issue. I think it's marketing. It's the big thing. They want to keep making money, and that's the kind of world we live in. But that's the problem I see with somebody. If you don't own a 270 Winchester short mag, but you want one, and you hunt in the West, I think you're better off to go with the 6.8 Western. With even with the limitations on manufacturing of factory ammo or even reloading components, right? It's just a better performer.
So then, speaking of marketing, and Hornady's done an incredible job of marketing their PRC line. How come the 300 PRC isn't as popular as, say, even the 7 PRC?
It's a good question. I don't think it did anything as spectacular or like bridged a big enough gap with shooters from the 300 Win Mag or even like the 300 Remington Ultra Mag or 300 Weatherby for even that instance. I just don't think it bridged the gap the same. I think a lot of people with the 6.5 Creedmoor wish they had more horsepower, and I don't think it was. I think it was a lot of people. There was no shortage of people that wish they had a 6.5 Creedmoor Magnum or however they wanted to word it. So I just think there was more water under that bridge for them to capitalize on with the 6.5, and then even the 280 AI. I'm not sure how old that is, but I mean the most recent 7 is decades old. So I think the 7 is just got some popularity for that reason.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Okay, I want to get into this a little bit of a game here with you,
Sure.
where we're going to pick a caliber that is the best for an individual game animal. I'm going to run through this list of game animals that I've got. I mean, do you want to try and spice this up a little bit, and we can make it so that you only pick the one caliber once, and you have to pick something else afterwards?
Absolutely.
You can't reuse it. Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. I'll let you go first, and then I will give you my answer. And if you have any explanation as to why, you can throw that in there too. So we'll start off with whitetail mule deer.
Whitetail and mule deer. Ooh, the best caliber for whitetail and mule deer. This is where you need like the Jeopardy music playing or something.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and if you pick anything vanilla, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I know that. So I'm having a hard time right now. I'm gonna pick whitetail and mule deer. I'm gonna pick 6.5 300 Weatherby mag.
6.5 300.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not too vanilla for you.
No, that's definitely got some spice to it. I'll give you that. Now for me, I meant to write down my answers on this before we started, so I'm going to be, I'm in the same boat here. Honestly, I'm going to pick 257. I think 257
Nice.
Weatherby is by far the best gun to use on deer.
I wonder if
Just
we're
from
both
my own
Weatherby
personal
fans, you know?
experience.
Both.
Yeah,
first
something,
answers.
something like that. Hey, okay. Next up, we got black bear.
Black bear. Best caliber for black bear. I'm gonna go 20 gauge Savage Slug.
20 gauge Savage Slug. We haven't even talked about shotguns. That's right out of left field. Okay, why?
It's a 50 caliber muzzleloader bullet essentially, wrapped in plastic. Grabs the rifling, comes out cooking, and lets go of that plastic. And you basically got a 50 caliber bullet. I believe a big frontal diameter on a black bear. It's not a bad thing to have with their, I'm going to use air quotes here because I can't speak for certain, but slow heartbeat and low blood trails and stuff. So I figured, heavyweight bullet, a lot of punch, a lot of knockdown power. A lot of time you're in a tree stand or a ground blind, you're up close and personal. Run a red dot on that thing and just let her have it and just give them a freight train to deal with and hopefully not get too far into the bush before you got to find them.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I am going to go with old tried and true Grandpa's Odd 6.
Yeah, naturally.
The first animal I ever killed was a bear with a 30-06. I've killed a few bears now with one. And,
nice.
So that's where I'm going with that one. How about coyotes?
Coyotes. I'm going to go 22 Creedmoor.
22 Creedmoor. I've seen a lot about this one lately.
Yeah, it's a cool round. Yeah, it's a 6.5 neck down to 224. Crazy flat shooting. I mean, running the newer high BC bullets, heavyweight bullets for 22 caliber, and extremely flat, high BC, so it's bucking the winds, really fast. Yeah. Once again, trying not to be vanilla here.
No, that's fine. And I'm going to stick to vanilla. I'm going to go with a 22 250. I think that's a great round for a coyote.
Absolutely.
Now, this is something interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this, but I've shot a couple of coyotes now with a 30-06. And it wasn't because I was trying to save their pelts, obviously.
Of course.
Every time I've shot a coyote with a 30-06, I get an in hole, an out hole, and a third hole, usually straight down between its legs somewhere.
What the heck?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it builds up some pressure or something in there, but I get 3 holes, an in hole, an out hole, and then it blows some third hole somewhere out the stomach.
Got a pressure relief valve in there.
Yeah, something like that, eh? But yeah, every time with a 30-06, and I've shot them with 300 Win Mag, and you just get one really big hole. But yeah, no, that's something interesting that I've encountered.
No, dude, that is interesting. I never heard of it, and I'm intrigued.
Next animal on the list, we got moose.
Moose. 303 British.
303 British.
Yeah, absolutely. My roots, I'm from Newfoundland. Newfoundland joined Confederation, I believe it was 1949. So, you know, we were very British influenced. You know, the last province to join Confederation here in Canada, and Sears used to sell these things, surplus British Lee Enfields,
Nice.
sporterized, right? So they take all the wood off the battle wood, and both my grandfathers hunted moose with 303 British, so it's a little bit of a nostalgia thing there, and it's killed probably the most moose on the island of Newfoundland than anything else.
That's cool. That's really cool. And I'd say, given that explanation, that's still a pretty spicy round.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You'll take that 30-06 for a run, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, if I got to go with one, I'm going to say 300 Win Mag.
Nice.
Just because
Classic.
I have personal experience there, and I love the damage that it does to those to moose. Yeah, 300 Win Mag. I mean, you cover a lot of ground with that gun. Next one I got on this list is elk.
338 Weatherby RPM.
Okie dokie, 338. Now the RPM calibers, like, what's so different with those ones?
Well, it's a rebased. Was it rebased? Oh gosh, it's slipping my mind here. Gosh, I should know this stuff. Runs off their 6-lug action from Weatherby. It's a beltless design. What does RPM stand for again? My gosh, I gotta Google this quick because I sound like a fool.
No, go ahead. I only asked this because I needed to buy myself some time.
Oh, fair enough. Rebased. Is it rebased? Oh boy, rebated precision magnum. That's what it is. Rebated precision magnum. So it's a really fat case, holds a lot of grains of powder, and then the bolt face connects up to it. It's brought down to like a standard size, like a 30-06 size primer pocket or shell holder kind of thing. Oh God, it's slipping me here. But the idea is it's beltless, so you know, to guys that means something. But the 338 Weatherby RPM is offered in their backcountry 2.0. With I believe it's an 18 or a 20-inch barrel, and you get essentially 338 Win Mag performance out of a very short barrel. So to me, you know, it's a no-brainer. You get a really lightweight elk. You're probably doing a lot of hiking. There's elevation changes. You want a lightweight gun, but you still want the frontal diameter, the oomph to get the job done with a Magnum. And I think it's a great performer for bigger game out west.
Okay, I'm gonna go with 300 Weatherby mag.
Nice.
I feel like that's a big enough one, and it's gonna do a lot of stopping power.
Big time.
Now this one here, I'm kind of curious to see your approach on it. What about sheep?
Sheep. Well, I'm gonna have to get a treadmill first, but
Yeah, I know, me too.
sheep. Oh, it's probably going to be a 7.
Okay.
Yeah, 280 AI.
280 AI.
Yeah. I'm going
That's
to
not
take it
bad.
over the PRC.
Okay. See, I was thinking with this one here, situational. If you have a sheep, you probably don't want it to run anywhere. And so I was thinking a larger caliber just based on that.
Sure.
So I went with 7mm Rem mag, just because I figured like a lot of times they're in a spot where you want them to not go anywhere from that spot. So why not drop them where they stand, you know?
To my knowledge, 280 AI and the 7 mag are pretty much interchangeable when it comes to ballistic performance and kinetic energy.
Yep. That's what I've seen too. So I guess we both made some pretty good picks there.
I think so.
Now I put these two together because I think they're kind of similar in body size. Wolves and mountain lions.
Ooh. let's go. Ooh, 6.5 PRC.
6.5 PRC.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, mountain lions are a little bit bigger than wolves, but I don't think it's really that big of a difference.
No, I think it'd be enough gun to do the job. I mean, I haven't set foot looking for either. So, somebody listening to this who has a lot more experience might be like, what the frick does this guy know? And absolutely nothing. That's your answer, sir. I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm just pulling this out from there.
See, I've killed one of each.
Nice.
And but both of them with a bow.
Yeah, fair. I hear that's common. Well, a wolf though. Hold on now.
Yeah, I got a wolf with a bow.
That's badass.
Yeah, so sitting in a tree stand, hunting for elk, and heard a bull bugle. There was like, I don't know, probably half hour, 45 minutes till last light. And I figured, well, I'm going to let out a cow call. If he's convinced enough, he's going to come in running. And if not, I mean, well, I tried. So I let out a couple of cow calls with just with a hoochie mama.
Yeah,
and 2 wolves came running out of the bush.
Of course they did, right?
Yeah, and they stopped in the brush, and I'm like, man, that looked way too big to be a coyote. So I hit the call a couple more times, and they ran right in front of my tree stand. I came to full draw, whistled or something, and I guess the farther one was the bigger of the 2, let my arrow fly and smoked them.
Get out of town. What broadhead were you using?
I was using a 1-inch cutting mechanical rocket, and they don't even make them anymore.
Never heard of it, to be honest. That's before my time in archery.
Yeah, they're probably some of the best broadheads I've ever shot, and they were just like, you put a rubber band around 3 blades that were held together in a forward motion, and I hit him lungs, back of liver going into both lungs, and in like 2 snaps of a finger, he was 200 yards out into this field and dead.
Dang, dude. Congrats on that one. That's cool.
Yeah. Sad story about how I don't have that wolf anymore.
Get out of town.
Yeah, well, my taxidermist lost it.
What?
Yeah, I know. Every time I ask about it, he's like, oh, yeah, it's in the back somewhere. And it's been 10 years, so I don't think it's in the back anymore.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry
I have
to hear,
the skull.
dude.
I have the skull, so that's nice.
That's
but
cool.
I don't have the rug that I asked for.
Damn.
But, yeah. So if I had to pick a gun for those 2, I'm just going to go with a good old lever action 30-30.
Dang, dude, that's cool. That is cool.
Yeah,
that's not vanilla at all, in my opinion.
No?
Well, these days, maybe like pre-COVID, it would have been vanilla as shit. But now, can you find a 30-30 on a shelf, dude?
Man, it is very, very difficult. And if you do find one, they want the king's ransom for them.
Yeah, practically, hey? It's crazy.
You gotta pay more to be less accurate. It's crazy.
Yeah. And like harder to clean and not ballistically performing at all. Yeah, it's great.
Right? Like even look at SKS nowadays. Like they're so expensive.
Dude, I got one years ago for like $199. It's a Russian with all the matching numbers. You know what those guys care about.
Ooh, nice.
I think I should take that thing to like a Cerakote place and get it done in like a shiny gold Cerakote. Because like, you know how like those guys with AK-47s get them all golded up, you know, like badass gangsters. Mm-hmm. Well, like these days and age, the SKS is worth more than its weight in gold, you know.
Yeah, so, no kidding. Especially those Russian ones.
Yeah, it's a fun gun, to be honest. That would be that should have been a good pick for one of these 7.62 by 39. That would have been an interesting cartridge pick.
Well, maybe for this next one I got on the list. The next one's antelope.
Antelope? Absolutely not. No,
absolutely not.
No, not a chance. Oh, brother, no. Yeah, I was thinking gophers or something. No. Yeah. Okay, antelope. Let's get into this one. 6mm Creedmoor.
6mm Creedmoor. That's not a bad one. I like that.
Yeah, it's you know, in my opinion, it's superior to the 6.5 Creedmoor. You know, it's basically a spiced up 243. It's 243 is known as an excellent cartridge for, plains game, whitetail, mule deer, antelope, low recoiling. The 6.5 Creed, or the 6 Creedmoor, sorry. It just kind of does everything the 243 Winchester does, but just with a heavier bullet and higher BCs, modern design. Yeah, I think it'd be a great weapon to use for a small-bodied, a speed goat.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I got a couple that I wanted to pick for this one. I don't really like. They don't need a whole lot of bullet. Like I've shot a couple now with a 257, and it does an absolute number on them.
That was just this past season, right?
Yeah, the buck I just shot was with the 257, kind of a frontal right at the base of the neck, kind of middle of the chest shot.
Yeah, absolute stud too.
Yeah, he was a nice buck. I was pretty pumped about it. And to be honest, he didn't give me any time to think about how big he was. I just saw him coming, and I was like, good enough. Boom.
Yeah. 1 of 3 that day, or 3 that trip.
Yeah, well, no, it was 3 that day. All 3 of us got one on the same day, and it was pretty crazy. Yeah, I told more or less the full story on Alberta Wildlife Stories, and it was a pretty crazy day. Piles and piles of people. So, like, if you ever get drawn, I would recommend trying to do it for the archery season because there's way better opportunity to do it that way. Plus, the bucks are very split up.
I got a buddy down in Lethbridge, and he's offered to give me a hand when it comes up. Yeah,
absolutely. It's an absolute blast. And I think that they might be the best tasting game animal in Alberta.
Do they smell like cheesies? Is that the thing?
Yeah, they smell like Fritos or Frito-Lay or whatever. Yeah. Is that how Ranella describes it? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, there's something about that. Yeah, they smell like.
Yeah, they have a bit of a smell. It's kind of in the horns. It's a weird one. If you don't like it, you're not going to like it at all.
Yeah, fair.
Like I can tolerate it. My wife doesn't like the smell of the mount being on the wall, but it's kind of tamed down after a little while. Yeah. Oh. But the meat itself, it's kind of got a bit of a sage flavor, and some people don't like sage. But I found that if you eat antelope, you either cannot stand it or it is the best thing you've ever put in your mouth.
I've heard both sides of that fence. I'm at like 8 or 9. I think I'm at 8 priority. So, I mean, I got a couple more years, but I am excited to get the opportunity to try that meat.
Oh, it's absolute blast. And when you get drawn, I mean, pick my brain. I'll tell you everything about my experience, start to finish.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you'll have an absolute blast on that hunt.
Can't wait.
Yeah, so if I had to pick a gun, I already picked 257. That probably would have been my go-to. I'm going to go with 243. I think
243.
Yeah, I think that encompasses everything that you need to do on an antelope. They don't require a very big gun. Then again, a 7mm in any of the 7s wouldn't be really that bad because it's a small enough hole going in there that you're not doing massive amounts of damage.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, 243 is probably good. I threw one bonus animal on this list just because you're from the Rock, and we've talked about going to do this sometime, but caribou.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, caribou. Okay. Oh, ideally archery, but we're going to pick a bullet here. Something not vanilla, too. I'm trying to stay true to my word. Let me think here. What do we got going on? Looking at my list, trying not to have any repeats.
I swear if you pick 30-06.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. No, that will not be my option. I'm gonna, Gosh, how about you go first on this one? I need some time to think.
I think I'm gonna go with 280 Ackley improved. I think it's big enough. They're kind of like elk size game, and you picked 280 on sheep. So right. Yeah, I think caribou you could probably do it with a 280 Ackley. Enough weight in that bullet. I think it would be plenty to put one down.
Sure. Okay. Well, that didn't buy me any thought. I'm gonna. Jeez. You could do it with all of them. A 270 Winchester, 6.8 Western.
6.8 Western. There he goes.
Yeah. Yeah, 6.8 Western. Because we're hunting east, I want to use the Western bullet.
Take the west down east, hey?
Yeah, there you go. 6.8 Eastern.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so that kind of brings me to the next question here. Pick one caliber to be your ultimate do everything caliber.
Ooh. One caliber or one cartridge? Like a 30 caliber or like a 7 caliber or like
let's go straight to cartridge then.
Cartridge, okay. Do it all. Cartridge. Everything. So if I'm encompassing like ensuring that capes are, kept decent environment, like coyotes or
like say you're
lion.
on a deer hunt, but you have a chance that you're gonna shoot a bear, a moose, or an elk. You got all those tags in your pocket.
Oh gosh. What about when it comes like the varmints? Am I particular over, keeping the hide?
Okay, we'll call it a big game.
Big game.
Cartridge.
Okay, sweet.
Yep.
Okay, that makes it easy. Easier. There's so many options, and they all do a great job. I'm gonna go with one to do it all. Everything all together. 270 Winchester.
270 Winchester.
As vanilla as it gets, boy.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And that's funny because the one that I decided on here is 270 Weatherby.
Great option.
Because I feel like it's at 270, but it's more.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I was going to go 6.8 Western. I was like, I can't repeat myself. And I was going to go 270 Winchester short mag. I was like, but the 6.8 Western's better. Why the heck would I pick the short mag? So I just went with the old classic, the Jack O'Connor classic.
Okay.
270 Weatherby is very underrated in my opinion.
I agree. Another one that I think is extremely underrated is 240 Weatherby.
Yeah, it's an absolute screamer.
And I kind of forgot about that. I'm actually gonna go back and I'm gonna throw that one in for my antelope.
Ah, there you go. Nice.
Yeah, there we go. Gotta throw Weatherby in there one more time. Now I got one last question here. You got a bucket list hunt. It's sky's the limit. It could be whatever it is. And the dream gun that you would be taking if money was not an option.
Yeah, it's
or object.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a Yukon moose hunt or Alaska, one of the two. It's going to be a Weatherby Backcountry 2.0 titanium and 338 Weatherby mag. Top.
You see 338 Weatherby mag?
Yeah, or Weatherby RPM, sorry.
Oh, 338 Weatherby RPM.
Yeah. Vortex LHT. Scope on top there. Illuminated reticle. Oh, money.
Yeah, that sounds like the dream, man.
Yeah. How about yourself? What do you got?
I gotta think about this. I got a couple of bucket list animals that I want to go after. I'm gonna say New Zealand red stag.
Those things are cool.
Yeah, it's always been a dream of mine, and I'm gonna say, man, we're gonna look like we're sponsored by Weatherby here. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Weatherby Backcountry 2.0 as well, and the titanium, and I think I'm going to do it in 280 Ackley.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A Weatherby with an Ackley Wildcat. Or was Wildcat.
Yeah. I mean, if they offered a 6.8 Western, I think I'd go that route.
Dang, that's cool.
Yeah.
That'd be real cool.
Yeah, 280 Ackley. They had one at Prophet River. The thing was like $5,000.
Yeah.
But, man, I don't know if I could ever justify that on a rifle, honestly. And then take it out of the case and abuse it.
It's the cost of your bucket list hunt right there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Rifle, you know?
Yeah, and then for a scope on top of it, I'd probably put, I'm going to say like a Swaro Z5.
Ooh, primo.
Yeah, 3 to 18, probably, with the illuminated reticle. Yeah.
Man.
But, no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, it is the dream. One day we're going to do it. Hey, if you do the Yukon thing, I'd like to come and I'll follow you around with the camera, and then I'll have you come follow me for the red stag. Hey,
Sure, let's do that.
let's do it.
A virtual handshake here.
Exactly. We got a long time to plan for this, I think.
Oh yeah, 100%. I gotta pay off the truck and pay off the mortgage. And,
no kidding. But I appreciate you taking all this time to let me pick your brain about guns. I've learned a few things on here, and I'm sure everybody else will too. Any big plans coming up for this next hunting season?
I'm hoping my father helps or actually draws his moose tag for the first time in Newfoundland, and we're heading back for his 60th birthday, which happens to land during the moose hunting season. So I'm hoping to hunt some moose with him in Newfoundland. Other than that, I got a black bear hunt. I'm going with a couple guys here mid-May. I've never killed a bear. I'd like to get that with probably archery equipment.
Is that over a bait?
It's going to be over bait, yeah. Up Drayton
nice.
Valley area somewhere.
Oh yeah, lots of bears in that area.
Yeah, hoping to, I'm not looking to set any records or anything, but I'd like to, it'd be cool to get a boar, a decent size, was it 6 foot?
Yeah.
I've never hunted bear, truthfully, and put a lot of thought into it. So just a respectful boar would be super sweet. That moose trip, birthday trip for my father, and hopefully that turns into a moose hunt. If not, whatever, it'll be a banger of a party. I'm hoping it'd be real cool to get my first elk. I've gone out a couple times with the general mule deer tag and the general elk tag.
Yeah.
In my bino harness, hoping to fill one of the two, and I've never got on any bulls before.
I know we talked about trying to maybe do one of those, do an elk hunt together. So I'd like to still try and do that if that works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can talk further, but I want to experience. I want to use the hoochie mama and maybe get some bull riled up and maybe put an arrow through him. That'd be it's definitely high on my list of wants in the next couple years for sure. Maybe that can happen this year, and then general whitetail. It's going to be hard to top this season's.
No kidding.
Buck, but I'm going to put in an effort for it. And back to the 303 British, I think I'm going to put it on myself to use one of my grandfather's old Lee Enfields to take my next whitetail with.
That's cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of fun, but we'll see if that all pans out. Well, it's not even 2024, and yet there's been a lot of thinking on 2024 when it comes to the hunting season for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, I always think that when you don't have a whole lot of things coming up that you're going to get drawn for, that it's going to be a slow season, but you seem to just plan wild and come up with all these other ideas. Yeah,
I mean, I think in the sections like the WMUs that I want to pull bull moose, I could probably pull it in 2024, but just being that I'm going to be in Newfoundland, probably peak rut, I think I'm just going to hold off another year.
Yeah, that's not a bad play.
What do you got going on? What are you thinking about in 2024?
Oh man, actually, it comes fast here. In I want to say 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Ryan and I are actually going on a deer hunt in Illinois.
What?
And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's the last week of their hunting season there, and it's archery only. So we're going on a deer hunt down in Illinois. That's like right now the main focus. So excited for that.
Of course.
And then after that, there's a chance I could get drawn for mule deer this year. I might still be a year behind on that one. Otherwise, I've been drawn for pretty much everything in the last couple of years. Was thinking about going and doing a turkey hunt in BC in the spring. That's a pretty cool opportunity. It's actually over the counter for non-residents.
Is that so?
And you don't need a host, so that's pretty cool. And from what I've heard, getting drawn for turkeys in Alberta is pretty much a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Yeah, and then probably just general tags. I don't know if I want to do any bear baiting this spring. Gonna maybe do the turkey thing instead, and then I really would like to get a mule deer with a bow this fall. I haven't done it in a long, long time, so that's high on the list too.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I love all the plans and the unknowns, right? Just knowing that you're you're going to go into some of these hunts, and are you going to see success or you're not, and we'll be able to reflect back on this and maybe giggle at a couple things here or there and see how it all pans out. It'd be great.
Yeah, we'll be there to pick each other up from the lowest of lows, just like this year, and congratulate each other on the highest of highs.
Seriously.
There's a few of those this year. That was awesome.
Yeah, man, there's some stud bucks taken in Alberta this year.
No kidding, hey? Like giants.
Yeah, absolutely. Yours, what did you green score yours?
Yeah, he taped out at 170 and 3/8.
Dang, dude. Absolute monster.
Yeah, when I walked up to him, I'm like, he definitely goes over 140. I had no idea he was 30 into 140. My goodness sakes.
Yeah, no doubt, eh? Ground
growage. He blew my personal best in Alberta out of the water by like 40 inches.
Dang, dude! Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a big gap. That's a big jump.
No, it was pretty cool. And I'll tell you, this is really cool. So my personal best prior to him was a buck I shot in Saskatchewan. I can't remember how many years ago, 12 years ago. And he was 167 and change. I keep very good track of everything that I shoot, and I write down the dates and all the different things.
Sure.
12 years ago to the day when I had shot my previous personal best. Yeah.
Now, imagine that, eh? 12 to the day.
Know. To the day. Huh. I was pretty surprised. So
what happened in Saskatchewan this year? I know I seen some photos of some was it Mick Happy Meal or something? What was his name?
Yeah, we called him Happy Meal. And unfortunately, we're going to dive into this one big time in great detail. There's other hunters in the area. It's all public land. And
you told me that,
yeah, they didn't like us being there. They thought that they owned the area, probably because they didn't like seeing Alberta plates, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had tree stands stolen, trail cameras stolen. Every day we went into the tree stand, there was new logs sawed across the trail. The one night that I sat in the stand, the guy buzzed it on the quad at last light.
Of course he did.
Yeah, and then we left because the hunting overall was really terrible this year. There's a lot going into that. And then a couple days after we left, one of the guys that was giving us a hard time, he shot the deer.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
I didn't see any pictures on that.
Yeah, I'll send you some. Saddest part of it all is, everybody's just going to hear my side of the story, and we have a lot of different things that we dealt with involving the whole situation. But this guy, he's very, very well known and very, very well respected for killing giant deer.
No way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we now know how he does it.
No.
Yeah.
Dude, I need to know more. But you probably got plans to share these stories and get this information out other than 130 minutes into this podcast. So I am very intrigued into knowing what's going on here because, I know you sent me a couple pics and, told me to keep them private. Absolutely did. But, man, someone else smoked that thing, eh? That thing was a monster.
Yeah, and come to find out, he's been on like 4 or 5 different guys' trail cameras, and just so happened that this one guy ended up shooting him.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Frick, he was well over 200 inch, wasn't he?
Oh, guaranteed, yeah. I don't know. I mean, last year he might have been bigger. This year he was a stud. But yeah, we'll talk more about this story so that I don't share too many details.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, fair enough. No, man, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry that's how that went out, but man, now I'm just like buzzing.
I ended up having tag soup. It was a hard year out there.
Gosh, in Saskatchewan, tag soup.
Yeah, man, the winter kill was really bad last year. Our
right?
bucks that were on camera, they were either like 160 plus or 120 and below. All those middle deer that scrapped the hardest took the hardest part of the winter.
No doubt. Hey, man, that's unfortunate. But that's why they call it
Yeah.
hunting and not killing, right?
Oh, exactly. And everybody thinks that you have just an extreme advantage hunting over a bait, and I almost want to not even bait out there next time I go.
Not when there's bait every 500 yards.
Well, yeah, like they're good, and then they get within like a buffer zone of like 50 yards around the bait, and then they're on high alert as soon as they break that buffer.
I could see that. Because, everybody that talks about hunting black bears over bait, the black bear, the critters are aware of your presence.
Absolutely.
There's like a level of trust there or something.
I always explain it to people this way. Like if you came home and you knew nobody was home and there was a fresh pizza sitting on your counter, you would probably take a minute to consider taking a bite.
Oh, yeah. The old 9 would
Right?
be coming out, I'd be like,
Oh,
what the
yeah.
heck?
Yeah, you'd probably circle around the house, check out the surroundings, and you might go open the box, take a look, and then back off a little bit. And then after a little while, when it seems like there's absolutely no danger, you might go and take a slice. And that's why these deer and these bears and any other animals that are being baited get to be really big. And it's because they're not stupid, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a good analogy because when you put it like that, it's like, yeah, man, you're definitely not just racing over to that pizza and just not thinking any more of it. You're gonna be on high alert for sure. Like,
yeah, but if you let your 5-year-old son walk in there, he's probably going to run right over and grab a piece immediately.
absolutely. Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly. Right. The juvenile crowd, somebody who's, no doubt, you don't get big and stupid or you don't get big by being stupid. So
No, that's why I always tell everybody that the baiting it's a guarantee if you want a animal, but it's far from a guarantee to get a big animal.
yeah, that's fair. I think that's great logic.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely, man. Everybody can follow you on Instagram at Squires Outside. Check out Luke's YouTube channel. He's got a couple of good videos on there. I'm really looking forward to when you drop the video of this buck this year. Really hyped for that.
Yeah.
And I'm also hyped to be able to hear the rest of the story when it comes out in mystery platform here sometime soon.
Yeah. It's I'm a big advocate for not talking about something that hasn't happened yet.
Yep.
Don't want to get burned like that. So until it happens, I'm staying pretty zipper lip about it. And if it happens, it'll be cool. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I look forward to seeing it just as much as yourself and anyone else who listens and is interested. But funny story, dude. I managed to get my kill shot on camera for the first time this year. Well, second
That's
time
awesome.
without losing it. But anyway, there'll be a little video. My YouTube is a little bit slow. I'm gonna start doing I'm gonna pick it up though. The Instagram's definitely my most recent up to date kind of stuff. But the YouTube will come.
Yep. No, that's awesome, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your Friday night. Like, good grief, man. I'm sure you got better things to do on a Friday night than talk to me about guns, but I really appreciate it. It was knowledgeable talk. I enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure we'll have a couple more conversations in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate all your questions, and I hope I didn't sound like too big of a loser to everybody, with my opinions and my non-vanilla, my hate for the 30-06. It's not that I hate it; I just like to give it the gears. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I'd do it again any day, and I appreciate your time and having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks, and have a great night, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, man. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you, and take care. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Merry Christmas. On the Blood Trail has been brought to you by Man Mountain Company. Experience peak flavor and use code BLOODTRAIL to save on your next order over at manmountainco.com.